Shavua Tov, Good Vach. Tonight's story, well, let's hear the story first, okay? In the early 80s, there was a group of French young returnees, married, singles, a whole group came to spend the month of Tishrei, the holidays of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and especially Simchas Torah, with the Rebbe in New York. And the group consisted of many people who were the shliach, the rabbi, and a whole group of people at different levels of their attachment to Chabad, to Judaism, to religious, all kinds of stuff, a whole interesting group. At one point during the Fabring, one of these Frenchies, forgive me, it's not meant as a slur, stepped out of the crowded 770 Fabringen room to catch his breath and catch a drink, and he returned to the room, couldn't get back to his place, and he noticed that there's a whole line of people, and the Rebbe is giving bottles of vodka to people, pouring a little bit in their cups. They say l'chaim, they get a blessing from the Rebbe, and they turn around and they say something. What they actually were doing were announcing some new event going on. They're having a dinner, they're having a concert, they're opening a Chabad house, and the Rebbe was participating by giving them a l'chaim and giving them a bottle of vodka to distribute at their event. And each person announced what they were doing. This guy decides he also wants a bottle from the Rebbe, so he pushed his way into the line, and next thing you know, he's standing in front of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe pours him a little bit of vodka, and then the Rebbe asks him, what's the event? What are you taking the bottle for? And he had no clue what's going on, so he shrugged his shoulders. So the Rebbe looked at him, and then the Rebbe handed him the bottle and said, it should be for the wedding. And of course, he was pushed on his way by the people behind him, and he returns to his group, and all of his French friends, a group of maybe 40 people, surround him. What did the Rebbe say? And what happened? Why'd you go? So he said, I don't know why I went. I thought that was a normal thing to do. What did the Rebbe say to you? They said, the Rebbe said, this should be for the wedding. They said, what wedding? He said, I tell you the truth, I don't know. I'm married for 20 years. I don't know what wedding. And to be honest, among this group, there were those who said the Rebbe is a Navi, the Rebbe is a prophet, there's surely a wedding coming. And others said maybe the Rebbe mistook you for someone else and thought whatever. And in a way, it wasn't necessarily a positive event. Well, they returned to, and the shliach who came with them from France said, meanwhile, put it away in a safe place, and we'll see. So not a single word of the Rebbe goes to waste. There's got to be something happening. Anyways, 6 months go by, Pesach is approaching, and if you receive the bottle of vodka, which is chametz, from the Rebbe's hands, you don't want to sell it with your chametz before Pesach. So therefore you have to drink it before Pesach. So the shliach calls up this guy and says, where's the bottle? He says, I have it on my shelf. He says, let's make a fabring. Pesach's approaching. We'll fabring, and who knows? We can't let it go to waste. We can't sell it. So they made up to meet at a well-known shul in a very Jewish section. It was number 17 on the Pletzel. And they get together that evening. The whole group comes together to fabring. And as they're getting into it, there's a knock on the door. And the rabbi from number 25, just a few doors down, there's another synagogue, comes in and says, I need a minyan, can you help me? So they thought he needs a minyan to say Kaddish, some mourner or something. So they said, sure. And they all troop over to this guy's shul, and they're surprised that there's no one there but a boy and a girl. The girl's wearing a long white dress, and the boy is wearing a ill-fitting new suit. And the rabbi says, this young couple needs to get married, and we need to have a chuppah, and we need a minyan. That's why I brought you here, not for Kaddish and not for davening. So they all said, okay. And they stood, and they joined, and they participated in the chuppah, and the blessings, the breaking of the glass. And then the rabbi, the Lubavitcher leading the fabring, says to the rabbi who made the wedding, he says, where's the meal? Where's the festive wedding meal taking place? I guess the chuppah is here, but are they going to a hall, to a restaurant? What's happening? And the rabbi said, they don't really have any family, so this is it. Kosher chuppah, more we can't do. Well, maybe you can't do more than that. The Chabad rabbi said, well, right next door, we're in the middle of a fabringen, we have food, we have good cheer and excitement. Let them join us. Let that be their meal. We'll make the Sheva brachas at the end of the meal. And so the young man and his new wife joined them at number 17 at their Fabrein. So at the Fabrein, it kind of hits the people that the Rebbe said the bottle will be for the chasana, and they just participated in a chuppah, a brand new bride and groom. So the rabbi begins to talk about it. The shliach begins to talk about how amazing this is, that the bottle is actually being used at a wedding. And all of a sudden, the girl, the kala, the bride, bursts into tears, and she cries and cries and cries and cries. So finally she calms down, and everyone is like, what did we say? What did we do? And they asked her, what's happening? And she said, well, let me tell you something. My parents are survivors of the Holocaust, and they determined when they got married to leave Judaism behind and raise any children they'll be blessed with as nothing. They're not going to mention that they're Jewish because that hasn't worked well for them. And eventually I grew up, I discovered that I was actually Jewish, I was attracted to Judaism, and I became observant. And the more observant I became, the more distant my family came from me, because they were very upset that I had chosen to be religious. And very cut off from my family, and I met this young man who was actually a convert. So he is totally away from his family, and we decided to get married. And the isolation and the distance really hit me. And last night, I prayed to Hashem and I said, please show me a sign that this wedding, this new life, this path that I'm heading on is really the correct path for me. And I asked for a sign, and I can tell you 20 minutes ago, standing alone in the rabbi's room, just the two of us, with no single family member joining or thinking about us, was very, very devastating. That sign didn't seem to happen. And now you just told me that 6 months ago, at the Rebbe's Fabrein, he gave a bottle and said, this should be for the wedding. That's my wedding the Rebbe was thinking about. How could I not be blown away by this sign that Hashem is so pleased with where I'm going, etc. So, weddings are connections, and Jews are connected, and we're connected to the Torah, and we're connected to a tzaddik, and the tzaddik is connected to us as well. May this be a great week as we prepare for the awesome day of the 3rd of Tammuz.